lived in Orem for a little over 32 years and consider Orem my home. Lifetime golfer, lifetime lover of soccer. My two daughters have played on all those fields, have gone on collegiately and helped me by getting scholarships and so forth. So I'm a big supporter of what's happening here. Another thing, I was a county planning commissioner for 6 years, and one of the things that I was overseeing was looking at ways that we could look for corporate partnerships, philanthropists, corporations, anything we could do to increase open space, because we are quickly to development losing our open space. The problem that we have, we can't raise taxes. It's just, when you say you're going to raise taxes to buy ground, you'll have many more people in this room than what you see here now. And so what I see here is what we have tried years to try to go through and do, which is trying to get someone else to help partnership, to help pay the cost, to have someone else. And I think by doing this, you're going to open the door for other corporations, other benefactors who would look to try to do something the same. So you're setting some precedents that I think is extremely important. There's going to be a lot of naysayers because golf is very important to them, but what you're doing is you're taking great open space. Instead of having to pay a fee to go use the open space, this is true open space. This is space that you're going to be able to, and how you can take a revenue of $524 a year and turn it into $7 million is, it doesn't take very many economists to go through and figure out what you're doing. And I applaud the efforts of what's happening here. With the loss of the cemetery fields, I know my wife has instructed me, I have to sell my plots up on top and move down below because she wants to be buried below where my kids play. And so I can tell you, I know what conundrum you're in because you're losing your open space. To be able to provide yourself the extra fields at no cost to you, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, that is the right thing to do. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jay Porter. I live at 245 North, 1000 East here in Orem. And after watching all these presentations, I'll tell you I'm not very good at math. I was raised in Lyman, Wyoming, and my 6th grade teacher was Darcy Strand, who was a former council member, and I may have been your babysitter.
I did like to hear the stories.
I did babysit for him. Did you live in Lyman?
I didn't, but
your brothers did?
Yes.
I did.
My older sister and brother.
Right. Okay, so anyway, I heard a lot of talk, and it sounds like it's probably pretty much a done deal, but I'd like to speak my piece anyway. In the 70s, I golfed at Cascade for the first time when John Evans was the pro, and since that time I've golfed a lot. I have a past. My dad is 96 years old. He'll be 97 the 15th of May, and he also has golfed a lot over the years as we enjoy this golf course. The Strattons are the leaseholder, and I've got to know Kevin really well, and I know he's a very honorable man. They chose not to have the golf course open on Sunday, which if they would have, they'd have probably made a lot more money. They didn't get a beer license. They could have made money at that, but because of his standards, he chose not to do that. And the golf course, you talked a lot about recreation. It does provide a lot of recreation. In the form of golf, they have Randy does a junior golf program every year, and he teaches golf. He gives a lot of golf lessons to younger kids and provides a lot of time for them. About the soccer fields, I'm sure down by Geneva Road there's plenty of space to build soccer fields if you want to go down there. You say that you've already got one golf course, which is Sleepy Ridge, and I want to tell you, I marshaled out there for 2 years, and it's a mosquito-infested son of a gun. And the threat of West Nile virus is not very good, and I know a lot of people won't golf there because of the mosquitoes, and I won't. I'll go to Pro. I'll spend my money over there instead of here. And anyway, can I ask a question?
Well, if you ask it, then we'll write it down so we can.
Okay, the question is will the park be open on Sunday? And if it is, then I don't know if Kevin would be that happy about that. But the last thing I'd like to say is the next 3 to 5 years, if you're not happy with deciding to build a park there instead of leaving the golf course, oh well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your input. Next, please.
I'm sorry I don't have any babysitting jokes or other things to talk to you about. My name is Larry Ashby. I'm a neighbor to Orem. I live within a mile of the golf course. Appreciate you taking the time and taking the opportunity. I appreciate city councils. I know that you're the guardian of the people's interests, and that's important to me. The dedication of the property 48 years ago was in good conscience, and I'd like to see you continue that, because there are few places that older people and younger people can go and enjoy a golf game. You can go down to Sleepy Ridge, as he said, or Provo City, but the tradition of this golf course is very important to Orem. The other case I have some question is that you indicated, what's your pointer? You indicated this lower portion here. The lower portion is going to be property of the city of Orem. Well, if you run out of money, you can sell that, and you can sell lots, and you can make a lot of money. Well, I hate to say about that boondoggle down in your center of town that's been approved by the city, that something happened there. You said that you're going to protect the sports fields in Orem. I wish you'd do that. This is not a win-win-win, because you didn't include the golfers there. Golfing is very important. The parking along this side is, when you get that, you say that there are not going to be any parking. I'll tell you, as a grandfather of soccer players, we don't like to have to walk so darn far. And if you're parking down through here, and you've got fields over in here, you're going to have some people park over in this way and in the school. Even though you have a fence there, they're going to, they're not going to observe the laws of parking. What, and a couple other questions. Have other people had an opportunity to bid on this property? And I appreciate most of this is driven by money and not for the benefit of what this was set up for. I would suggest that we stick with that purpose and let us have that golf course. Thank you.
My name is Denny Thursby. I live at 466 East, 2780 North. It's Provo. I just have two comments. First of all, if you're going to have a 20-acre park, you're going to have a cost of maintenance. I don't know whether you've taken that into consideration or not. Second comment is, as Mr. Dickerson said, it was a win-win-win. Well, it's a lose as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, I'm in Provo. I play at Cascade. Population is aging. We all know that. So there are going to be more and more guys like me who are wanting, and gals, wanting to play golf. And I suggest that you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Dale Shumway, 486 West, 40 North. I'm opposed to the sale of Cascade. Written a letter to the Herald stating my opposition. I feel like in the process we're a little bit like a bunch of passengers on the Titanic. We've heard some high-powered presenters, and it's really good to hear from the regular folks. What I've got, 10 reasons to sell the golf course. I'm talking, though, I'm using from my 8th grade English, a little satire, humor, irony, and sarcasm. Number 1 reason to sell it. We already have too many green areas within the city limits. Number 2, the youth, women, and seniors of Orem already have too many responsibilities, too much to do without golf being there to tempt and distract them. Number 3, golf is an elitist sport. Common folks aren't interested in playing or simply can't afford the game. Number 4, if we are golfers or if we take up the sport, it might motivate us to be involved in scandalous behavior, like Tiger Woods. Number 5, our founding fathers, Washington, Franklin, Adams, and Madison, didn't like or play golf, and neither does Robert Redford. Number 6, many golf participants, imperfect in their abilities, play poorly, score bogeys and double bogeys, and shoot high scores, which causes temper problems among the citizens, suicidal thoughts, also even cheating, kicking the family pet when they get home, or being unkind to their spouse or children afterwards. Number 7, Orem City should not have 2 golf courses, while our leading competitor Pro has only 1. Number 8, religious one. The LDS First Presidency, Monson, Eyring, and Uchtdorf have not said anything positive about golf in their recent conference addresses. Number 9, some golfers have undesirable, wretched behaviors such as swearing, smoking, stealing an apple or a peach, shoot several mulligans, or even voting Democratic. Number 10, the scriptures must be wrong or exaggerating when they claim that our lives, like the game of golf, is one eternal round. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a tough act to follow. Michael Gray, 744 East 60 North. To the first gentleman who spoke, to say it's a free park, I think is a bit of a misnomer. Costs will actually go up by $100,000 a year. Mr. Peterson estimated $300,000 in property tax. 18.5% goes to Orem. That's $55,500. Orem has 272 acres of park with a budget of just over $1.9 million. That comes to just over $7,000 an acre to maintain per year. 20-acre park is $141,000. To take the property tax increase you get, that's about $85,500, plus the lost sales tax as well. So roughly $100,000 a year in maintenance for the park. I don't know if I have not heard anybody talk about that tonight, whether are we increasing taxes, are we shifting resources from somewhere else to pay for the maintenance or what, that hasn't been talked about. As well, the financial estimation earlier, the appraisal was based solely on the $550 lease. But what about the sales tax that Cascade brings in? How come that was not included in the evaluation as well? As well, green space is hard to put a value on, put a number on, but as time goes on, the golf course is only going to bring more value to the city. You may have a decreasing value going on in the future of looking at the financials, but when you look at what the recreation brings to the city, that increases as we have less space to live in. I've heard from several people that giving away the 34 acres is a good idea because they get control over the remaining 20 acres. It doesn't make sense. If the city is so concerned about control over the land, why did they set up the lease for Sleepy Ridge? In any case, the city already gets recreational benefit from Cascade at no cost. Instead, the city is choosing to increase costs by at least $100,000 a year. In addition, there is no pressure or requirement to give away the 34 acres. The city doesn't have to break the lease. All parties to the lease knew the terms when they entered into them. We should stick to the terms of the lease that have provided value to both landlord and tenant for the past 48 years. Breaking the lease means that someone is losing, in this case, Orange. Mr. Hurst says the deal is a win for the city because they replaced the fields at the cemetery, but at what cost? Mr. Hurst said last week that there was nowhere else to put soccer fields, and yet we are willingly giving away 34 acres of future potential land use. What will we do for soccer fields in 10 years, in 30 years? Giving away 34 acres to get 20 acres is a losing long-term proposition. In addition, I've heard that Mr. Peterson has made overtures that he's willing to donate money to other city projects. I don't know if that's contingent on this project going through, but you start to wonder if the city is cozying up to an ultra-rich individual who's shown a propensity to donate to political campaigns. Thank you.
My name is Tanya Keller. I live at 1187 North, 1170 East. I love the idea of the park. I'm really grateful to the Petersons for their generosity. I'm actually a soccer mom too. My kids play soccer and we love the programs that Orem offers for soccer. But more importantly, I'm a mom, and my number one priority is the safety of my kids. And all this comes down to for me is, and the other neighbors in fact of our neighborhood, is the safety of our children. We feel like we're going to be the number one street affected by the increase in traffic that this soccer complex will bring. We live in the Providence neighborhood, just to the west of the golf course, and the street we live on is unusually narrow. The city, back when our development was made, the city okayed for this street to be approved at being more narrow than usual, and it's already created a really overcrowded and dangerous situation on the street. It's actually become a shortcut coming around the backside. It's very popular to be used as a shortcut for people coming to Foothill Elementary, for people going to Provo Canyon, for people going to BYU games, for people going to the Provo Canyon Trail. There's a constant flow of pedestrian and bike traffic coming through the neighborhood, very, very constant flow. I feel that this street would also be used as a shortcut to these soccer fields to access through the back. I think when Orem approved that this city street would be more narrow than usual, they didn't understand, they didn't believe that it would become the major thoroughfare that it is right now. But 10 years later, we know what it is, and it's pretty hard to live on. Anyway, I also understand that many people involved in this project have soccer as their first priority, and I understand that. But I know that we're not building these soccer fields for the Orem recreation soccer. The fields would be used for the private soccer clubs, and we've been told that. Many of the players on these teams aren't even Orem residents. They come from all over Utah Valley, and I heard also that none of the leagues pay Orem for the use of the fields. So I'm not quite sure why they have to be located in Orem, and why are we so desperate to provide these 3 fields that we compromise the safety of the children in the neighborhoods surrounding them that live on these narrow streets. I know that Ron Mortimer mentioned that the numbers don't really show excessive traffic down these streets. And I think that maybe it seems heightened to us that live on the street because if a car's parked on either side, or a garbage truck, or a UPS truck, or a bus coming through, the street becomes a one-way street. And I invite you to drive down it to see what I'm talking about. So I'm just looking for solutions for our street, to protect our street, protect our kids. Obviously, I can think of a few. I can think of reducing the amount of soccer fields to 2 instead of 3, the amount of parking spaces. That's one solution. Speed bumps down our street, a decrease in traffic, the traffic limit, things like this, speed cameras, eliminating, there's a parking entrance that kind of urges people to come right down the street, our street, instead of out onto 8th North. Anyway, I just ask you to help us protect our street and protect our children and make safety a priority. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca.
My name is Martin Weil, and I live at 290 East, 1165 North. First off, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Peterson for becoming a multimillionaire. And also, I'd like to congratulate the person who drew up this really pretty, I suppose, but not very nice, I guess, layout of what this golf course could be turned into. I'm very much opposed to this idea. I've lived in Orem my whole life, and the golf course has always been there, and I feel as though if it were taken out, it'd be like a part of me had gone missing. And so I don't think that it would be a very good idea to turn a piece of public land that is widely and well used into basically a playground for the rich. It is not a good idea. That's about all I have to say. Thanks for your time.
My name is Larry Holby. I'm also a neighbor. I live just 2 miles from the golf course and a frequent user of that facility. And I thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words to you tonight. In thinking about what I wanted to say, I thought, well, I could mention that, golf is a game for life, and it is. I started playing when I was 18 years of age, and now 50 years later, I'm still playing, and I'm playing with other guys that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90 years of age. I thought I could say that, golf is a game for the entire family. I play golf with my wife, with my sons and daughters, and with my grandchildren. But all of that you already know, and is true of any golf course. So what's special about Cascade? Well, for me, I enjoy walking the golf course. And Cascade on the Valley Nine is, in my opinion, the most walker-friendly course in Utah Valley. Granted, there are some elevation changes, and there are other courses around that are flatter, but at least you don't have to walk a half a mile from one green to the next tee. Also, as a retired person living on a fixed income, in my experience, Cascade Golf has the best value of any of the golf courses in Utah Valley. A speaker said earlier that you're really setting a precedent here by going forward with this project. And I would suggest, yes, you are setting a precedent. The precedent is that if your predecessors made an agreement to provide a service to the citizens of the community 47 years ago, and now because of dollars for the city, dollars for the developer, dollars for the operator, you can go ahead and just change your mind and cancel that commitment that was made to the citizens. And that bothers me. So for the fact that Cascade is walker-friendly, the most walker-friendly course in the county, because it is a good value, and because this is not a good precedent, I would strongly urge that you consider retaining the course as is and honoring the original commitment. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kaivi Chunghan. I live at 1146 North, 1170 East. And we just recently moved into the neighborhood, built a brand new house, and I'm appreciative of the mayor for acknowledging that maybe additional look needs to be taken into consideration along 1170. I recently just installed my mailbox, and I tell you, it was very heart-wrenching to know that I'm that close to the road and cars and runners are all past there, and it's along that almost got hit twice just to put my mailbox into the United States Postal Services. requirements to do that. In addition, we open the trails, although it's not open until May 10th. People already use it. So there's an increase of public flow. So my message really is a quick acronym, PS, is for the public safety to realize that there's additional traffic that comes through our neighborhood, and I've only been there 3 weeks now, and I mean, 6 o'clock in the morning, I can hear runners. Cyclists do not come in singles, they come in 6 and more droves through there constantly throughout the day. It doesn't matter morning, midday, in the evening, they come through. And the road is very narrow. Mr. Mark talked about striping in pieces. You can stripe there, but it's so narrow with one car parked on there. It's tough to get through. And the sidewalks vary from the east side to the west side as well. So it's difficult for the kids. Where do you cross? There's one crossing from the school for those kids to come across. So it is a concern from the neighborhood standpoint. I think also the increase with the soccer fields, hopefully we can keep that to word as it stated that only 3 would happen at the time. Having been a coach as well for several years, you could break that field up into 12 fields that could occur from 3 big fields.